XRP is truly exploding. It is awesome to see, but I want to talk about what catalyst that we can see in 2025 that can send XRP to 10, 15, or maybe even higher. We're going to talk about that in this video, guys. I'm Crypto Sensei. I've made over 800 videos on Ripple and XRP. I think I'm qualified to talk to you about this. I hope you sit back, relax, and learn something with me. Let's go ahead and talk about what these catalysts could be. So Ripple's first use case was cross-border payments, right? This is still something that banks are extremely interested in. Right now, sending money across border is expensive, it's slow, it's costly, it takes a lot of time, and people are just tired of waiting those 3 to 5 days. They want instantaneous settlement, they want cheaper solutions, and Ripple's instant payment cross-border payment solution could really send XRP to all new time highs. We got to understand that once regulation comes in and banks, especially in the United States, feel more comfortable using a digital asset in their payment infrastructure, that is truly what can set Ripple and XRP apart with banks and institutions. So access to the entire digital asset ecosystem today. As you know, Ripple is building out new technologies for tokenization for banks, so banks can actually hold digital assets through Ripple and through Medico. Also, XRP surpasses Tether to become the third largest cryptocurrency, right? Ripple's stablecoin that is coming right around the corner. This is going to be a big deal, especially in places like Europe. Europe has some stricter regulation on what stablecoins can be used there. And I truly believe with Ripple coming in with RLUSD, other institutions and banks are going to want to use Ripple's technology to create their own stablecoins on the XRP ledger. And so I imagine that if you have hundreds of banks globally, all of them are dealing in different currencies that they want to create, maybe a Bank of America coin, a Chase coin, an HSBC coin. These guys can all create a digital representation of their own currency, and then they can actually send money to and from cross-border with their stablecoin. And they can actually go into RLUSD, or maybe they're in their own stablecoin into other currencies too, which can be dramatically helpful. Also, Christine Lagarde from the EU, she truly understands that Ripple and Stellar and USDC are innovators in the space, and this could be a big deal. Let me play this.
The digital euro is on the move. Yesterday, the Governing Council of the ECB approved the opening of the preparation phase. It will be a journey, and we will walk the journey together with the legislator. All European institutions will be involved to make sure that Europe is equipped with the currency of the future. Cash is here to stay. You will have all options, cash and digital cash. So what does it mean for you? For consumers, it would be free and easy to use everywhere in the euro area. All of that, of course, is subject to the legislative process. Cash or digital? The choice will be yours.
Okay, cash or digital, the choice will be yours. But realistically, cash is going to be faded out. So how I see this happening, right, is you're going to have this digital representation of whatever currency. It could be the dollar, it could be the euro, it could be the pound, right? And as real cash that we know it today, paper notes, right? As that fades out, right? As they create more digital cash, more of that digital cash is going to wind up on blockchains, right? And that value and that liquidity will live on something like the XRP ledger and other assets too, as cash gets faded out. Over the next decade or two, cash will be in museums and museums only. Also, take a look at this. Novati partner Ripple and Stellar to launch AU and AUDC stablecoins backed by the Australian dollar, which could be even more liquidity for the ecosystem. Let me show you this.
For our either financial services customers or in business type customers. We will provide services out as stablecoin as a service, and also for holding and transacting of funds for things such as cross-border payments, on-ramp, off-ramp for cryptocurrencies, and other services yet to be seen. In terms of partnering with Ripple and Stellar, I mean, they are two of the major networks. We've been able to work with them and be a major partner of theirs in Australia. And I think that goes to a lot of the success of Novati, is that we can work with these global companies and bring through significant commercial deals.
So how do you see this impact on your revenues?
Melissa, for the next year, at the least, we'll have revenues will be a number of the payments from Ripple and Stellar for their grant programs that ameliorate our tech build costs and some of our marketing costs.
So Ripple's grants are allowing companies to come in and build their own kind of like technologies for their stablecoins for free, it sounds like, right? That's really incredible, right? Ripple's really laying the groundwork to say, hey, come in, we'll give you the capital that you need to get the infrastructure built out, and then we will start charging you after that. Like, perfect.
As we start to monetize later this year, then we'll start to get transaction fees from the stablecoin service as well.
Let's talk about your results. So I know you also recently announced some quarterly results. Talk us through the highlights.
The March quarterly results, our revenue was about 10.4 million. On a like-for-like basis with our December results, we'd gone from 6.3 million to 6.8, and then the increase from 6.8 to 10.4 was the Malaysian company ATX starting to come into our accounts. Against a prior calendar period for Novati itself, we were up about 60% quarter on quarter for the prior calendar period, and then with ATX coming in, we're now over $10 million a quarter.
$10 million a quarter. They're up 60% quarter over quarter, guys. Big freaking deal, right? And of course, Ripple is there. We help global companies accelerate their financial business. And also, man, we look at the number of banks, regional banks, major banks and partnerships that Ripple has access to. You're talking about billions of bank accounts over the next few years that's already connected to this new system. Also, you have this, if this is from Ripple, what is the most exciting thing about central bank digital currency and stablecoins innovation? Let's play it.
I often get asked the question, what's the most exciting thing about CBDCs and stablecoins? In one word, innovation. My name is James Wallace and I head up CBDC at Ripple. You might already know that over 90% of central banks around the world are now exploring CBDCs. There are many drivers to CBDC, including the decline of cash, improving payments efficiency, lowering costs, and the desire to innovate the ways in which money is used. Ripple's CBDC platform is your one-stop shop for the creation of digital currency, designed for minting, managing, transacting, and redeeming CBDCs and stablecoin.
Minting. That's a very big word right there, right? As remember, there's $50 trillion globally in cash and the currency that we have today around the world, right? US has about $21 trillion, okay? As that cash becomes less and less, as they mint more and more electronic money on the XRP ledger, right? As you're taking cash out of the system and you're minting this electronic money, this distributed ledger money, right? That's going to bring the regular money that we have out here outstanding into the DLT ecosystem on top of the XRP ledger. So the more central bank digital currency partnerships that Ripple has, right, the more money that is being created, minted on the XRP ledger. It's going to start a flywheel effect that is going to it's going to explode the price of XRP, guys. Like there's really no other way to look at this other than this is what the future holds. As the world moves to a more safer digital economy, crypto and blockchain, the top of the top, the cream of those projects will gain the most liquidity and value over time. And that's really what can send the price of XRP to a whole new level.
Here's how it works. First, standard APIs enable seamless integration of the CBDC platform into a central bank's existing systems. This allows the bank to leverage their current infrastructure. Central banks can then mint their CBDC on a private version of the XRP ledger that they control. Digital currencies can then be distributed directly to authorized accounts, either through commercial banks or directly to consumer wallets. Transactions run on a private ledger and are settled in seconds. And this is all done in a regulated and secure environment. The Ripple CBDC platform also permits the secure destruction of currency, giving the bank full control over monetary supply. The results? Lower costs, faster transactions, greater financial inclusion for all, and all done with a minimal carbon footprint.
Also, take a look at this. Shout out to Alan. Thank you, Alan. Says everyone a part of Swift DLT CBDC test and connections to Ripple. You have the Royal Bank of Canada. You have the Intesa Sao Paulo in Italy. Japan is the MBC. Of course, you have France, Banco de France, Societe Generale, BNP Paribas, huge banks in France. Of course, in Germany, you have Deutsche Bank, Bundesbank. Hong Kong, you have HSBC, one of the biggest banks in the world. UK, you have NatWest, Standard Chartered. Switzerland, you have UBS. These are some huge connections to Ripple. Imagine these central bank digital currencies on the XRP ledger, right? Billions and then trillions of dollars and I don't know everyone's currency, but you get what I'm saying here, right? It's all coming on. And then you also have Hong Kong CBDC pilots, programmable tokenization, atomic settlement, and key benefits, right? We talk about what Ripple's been doing with Fubon Bank, tokenization of HELOCs, those loans, right? Imagine that your home loan, your mortgage on your house is going to be on the blockchain. Imagine that the title, the value of your house lives on the blockchain. If you have $1 million house, right? And we have 1,000 houses, everyone, it's all $1 million. That's $1 billion worth of real estate that can be added to the XRP ledger. And if you start adding 5 billion, 10 billion, $100 billion worth of real estate, that is going to increase the price of XRP. Also, you have Australia's government chose Ripple and XRP for CBD stablecoin. This is from Crypto Hulk. Done a lot of great work in this space. I trust his research. Let me play this.
Check this out. Look at what Australia's up to. Right here, my government ID. You know what? People don't want to hear about that, right? So what does Australia do? They just change it to my ID. See, my government ID is changing to my ID. We're going to have all of our information in there so the government can control us, but we're going to have crypto. These are crypto wallets, everybody. I've been telling you all this. These little wallet things, these digital IDs at the airport and all that to catch a plane. Hey, that's just to open the door up because all your banking, all your job history, your medical, everything will be tied to digital ID and biometrics, face scan, and everything else. I've been telling you, we're going over this article. Why is this important? Because Ripple is leading the charge in Australia. An executive left Ripple 2 years ago to form Australia's cryptocurrency. Novati's mixed up in this. They already made a stablecoin. What's so big about Novati? Well, they're a Ripple partner. Oh, damn.
I played that for you earlier, right? Novati. Also, you have the IMF who considers Ripple a partner in this movement towards a digital representation of money. IMF reveals hidden link with Ripple considering its potential problem solver for digital bank currencies, right? Central bank digital currencies. 98% of countries are working on central bank digital currency. Listen, there's a lot of FUD out there with central bank digital currency, and this is a whole nother conversation that we need to have about what is right and what is wrong with central bank digital currency. The fact of the matter is they are coming whether we like them or not. And as value moves from the real world to the tokenized world, if Ripple and XRP capture most of that value, ladies and gentlemen, the price of XRP can't be $5 or $10. It'll have to be 3 to 4 digits to handle all of that money and liquidity. You also have Ashish Birla just said that Ripple is actively meeting and discussing central bank digital currency strategies with several central banks around the world. You already had the senior vice president of central bank digital currency from Ripple saying that they're working with up to 20 different central banks. A lot of them have not been announced yet.
We know financial institutions, we know security, we know how to move money cross borders efficiently. I think that tapping into the local domestic CBDC projects, so again, CBDC, central bank digital currency projects, are going to be in a further accelerant for adoption of Ripple technology. But we're going to be there. We're meeting and actively discussing that strategy with several central banks around the world. Super open to partnerships with companies like Ripple, to help solve different aspects of the pain point there.
Super open to partnerships, right? Okay, of course, Crypto Hulk also posted this. Exposed Bank of Ghana was Innovation Award for their CBDC, and also Ripple has a part in that as well.
This is Ripple, cross-border leader. What we got right here is the Bank of Ghana wins an Innovation Award right here. This September, they had a meeting, and Ghana wins. I guess out of competing in all these countries. Now that's very interesting. They came up with their cross-border payment solution. Now we all know that Ghana is a member with Onafric. And what Onafric is, it's Ripple payment system. Gee, I wonder how Ghana won, right?
Exactly. How Ghana won is because they're using Ripple's technology. It's the best in class. That's why all of these other central banks are testing what Ripple is working on. And you're going to see a large part of the world's central banks winding up on the XRP ledger. It's just a matter of time, ladies and gentlemen. You also have this from Brad Garlinghouse.
All right. With that, we'll turn it over to questions.
Sorry, this is an old clip with Brad Garlinghouse on stage with the head of the IMF division for legal. And there's a question asked about, is the IMF going to hold XRP? And when you look at this, I know this is an old clip, but all good. There's a lot of new people. But when you listen to this, you have the head of the legal department for the IMF basically saying that he can't comment on future partnerships and deals. Listen to this.
I see a bunch of questions on this screen, which I can't really read from here, but we're supposed to pick some. You want to take one? Go for it. The first one's for you. IMF. Do you see IMF holding crypto assets in the future? I did not put that up there.
Remember, I'm from the legal department. I'm supposed to be very conservative about these things. I don't want to go into great details about
Maybe
the IMF.
I should take what the IMF is going to do. I think we stunned Ross into silence with that one.
For that to happen, okay, under the current legal framework, some country would have to use a crypto asset as its currency.
Okay, that could be coming, ladies and gentlemen, right? As its currency. We'll see. There's a lot of countries around the world right now that are struggling with their own currency, right? China's got a huge problem with their yuan. Russia has a problem with their rubles. There could be a turning point here where these countries decide to turn to a cryptocurrency like XRP to stabilize their own system, right? And then, of course, Ripple announcing CBDC partnerships left and right. As we saw here with Central Bank of Colombia, another partnership, more value coming onto the XRP ledger. And this is an 18-second clip. Take a look at this.
What we're doing at Ripple is we take a version of the XRP ledger and we've made it a private ledger. No central bank at this stage would operate with a public ledger for many different reasons. Eventually they may do.
Okay, they're all on private ledgers, guys. You have Ripple's payment infrastructure, right? You have RLUSD, you have Medico and tokenization, and you have central bank digital currency. If these four things don't make you bullish on XRP, you need to do more research. I do apologize. I'm not doing my job well enough. If you don't think these four things could explode the price of XRP over the next few years, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're waiting for. Regulation, global regulation, and then we sit back and we wait. All right. I hope you learned something, guys. If you did, please hit like in the video. We are growing the channel. Let's go. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. I've been Crypto Sensei. Aloha.